science has been life-saving.
Okay, last thing.
No.
What deliberate steps can we take so that a hospital, like maybe one hospital, says as a policy, we will do this, and we hope it starts something across the country as a hospital, as us. We can't speak for the rest of the country, but this is what we're going to do.
Well, the other thing about living in America is that you have the right to make good and bad decisions. And, you know, as a hospital, and Dr. Bokar may need to help me, I don't think we can force people into anything that they're not willing. Any procedure you do, when you come in the hospital, they make you sign papers to say it's okay for us to treat you. I mean, you can be deathly ill, and I can say, I can save your life by doing this, and you, if you're in the right capacity, can say, I do not want this, even if you know it will mean your life. So in this country, despite the fact of knowing that this is good, I mean, we have the right as Americans to say, I do or do not want this, and you're always going to have both sides arguing with each other. You know, I think if we educate people and put out the right information there and get rid of a lot of the myths, we can lead towards this kind of trend. But I would find it hard that the hospital would implement a mandatory thing such as, you know, requiring that everyone commit to this, because, as you know, we have religious, you know, beliefs to respect, you know, we have just personal beliefs to respect, and so all that has to come into play, so we can't actually force these kinds of things on people.
Okay, thank you, Doc.
But good point, educate our community. Yes.
I wish I had the information with me, but in the Midwest, they seem to advocate the use of a lot of minerals and going to the general, what is it called, DNC, those types of treatments. What is your feeling on those?
For treating sickle cell disease? So, I mean, as long as, and I have patients who have come, I actually have a list of things that she wants to try. There have been a lot of things that are tried that are not harmful. So some things we know, a lot of people come, oh, should I use arginine? Should I use these vitamins or whatever? And as long as they're not causing harm and you discuss it with your doctor, I think it would be reasonable, but you have to have that discussion with your physician, because if I'm prescribing a medication for you, I need to know what else you're buying from GNC that may interact with what I'm giving you. And then we can sit down and have an educated discussion, because there are certain things, because just because everything is herbal doesn't mean it's good. I mean, it just means the FDA hasn't, you know, given their stamp on it. It doesn't mean there aren't side effects from these medications, or they can cause other harms. I have a patient who brought me stuff. It was a liver cleanser, but it also can affect, there was an ingredient, you know, when I went over with the pharmacist, that can affect his kidneys. Well, he had kidney dysfunction, so I said, you should not take this. But what they advertised was, oh, this will clean your liver, and he was worried about that. But, you know, I mean, that's why you need to have this discussion with your physician, because there are things in these either supplements or over-the-counter things that, and then again, like I say, if I'm writing a prescription for you, because as we know it, the only drug today that impacts sickle cell disease is the hydroxyurea. And, you know, I have to keep in consideration that if you're using something else that might impact the mechanism of this drug, you know, I might either need to change that, or maybe we should not use this other drug, because, as you know, the research has shown, that's the only drug that impacts this disease at this time. They have tried other experimental drugs, and nothing else has proven benefit at this time, and I think they're still looking.
A question I asked this gentleman: is the incidence of sickle cell the same throughout the entire African diaspora all over the world, or at least? Okay. Well, for those that don't have the disease, or groups that may have less of the incidence of the disease, what are they doing?
So, well, first of all, to kind of take it in pieces. So, it's higher in other countries. So like in a lot of the African countries, the incidence is way higher than in the US. And as a matter of fact, there's a lot of attention being focused on global initiatives for sickle cell disease. As a matter of fact, this summer, there's going to be a global conference in Ghana. One of the physicians, he's actually a pediatric hemonc, he's kind of heading this up in Ghana on a global sickle cell initiative. It's a lot higher there. Now, granted, in the US, our survival is different because of, you know, the access and things we have here that can help sustain life. And we have, you know, children, we're keeping them alive longer. In babies, we start penicillin at an early age to protect from infection and continue that on. when people get very sick, our medical technology compared to some third world countries is where we are keeping people alive longer. Your question is, what are they doing elsewhere?
What are they doing in parts of the world that don't seem to show any sickle cell disease?
Well, actually, so you're asking why some places may have it and others don't?
No, yeah. I'm asking what places don't have it and why.
Okay. Well, one of the reasons sickle cell that we think has the predominance it does is people who carry the trait appear to be resistant to serious malaria infections, okay? So like in the Western African culture, if you were a trait carrier, it was protective. So you would survive where malaria was killing out a lot of people. It was protective for some reason. So then you had all these people with trait carriers who are now reproducing and producing a group of people with the disease. So that's why countries that have that, you know, you see some South American areas, some in the Mediterranean, and again in the African countries, there's a higher predominance of sickle cell disease. And we feel it might have been partly from the pressure of malaria. And, you know, in places that you don't see it, again, once you develop this genetic predominance, or I guess push, then you see it in that culture more. Places that didn't have that issue, you know, like India has another population, but places that didn't have that problem, you know, even if it existed, it's not going to exist on the same level as elsewhere. Now that, as a disclaimer, now if you have sickle cell disease and get malaria, that's not good. It was just the trait carriers that seem to be protected. Does that answer, or did I go around it? Was that clear?
So you would ask me this question.
Well, I just wanted to comment. He came in after my talk. He actually just happened to come in about a nutrition thing. Okay. So he didn't see the first part where I explained that. That's why that question, that's why he keeps asking that question. So he didn't know about the whole genetics. He didn't see that part of the presentation. Okay. So that's why he didn't know that.
I'm sorry, I was making reference to a slide, I guess you didn't see it. I'm sorry about that. So
that.
there's certain areas of the world where it's more predominant, and it, again, those pressures, those environmental pressures led to this genetic predominance in these certain groups. But again, it's not exclusive. It's not only in black people.
Yeah, we are going to have, this is all being, both of our events, she mentioned about the blood thing. We did a big event at the Red Cross on the 15th. Dr. Neal was there, and that has all been videotaped. Ron Woodson, our videographer, actually we have excerpts from that over on that television. So the blood drive thing, we are dead on that. That's going, it's a big push. It's a big, we've had people die in our group because they couldn't get 2 units of blood at the clinic fast enough. This happens a lot, more than people realize. It's a big problem. Well, we can give you a whole thing about that because that's what we did on the 15th. That's a whole nother presentation. We will have the DVDs, all of that. Our last presentation is going to be on YouTube. All of this stuff will be available to you to go back and look at, and even our other event to go back and look at where we talk about all those specifics. We have the Red Cross people talk about it and tell you all of that. So all of this information that we put out this month is going to be on full access for you to go back and pick through it and listen to it as many times as you want.
Or purchase a DVD for your viewing at any time.
Yes. Because we have a website where you can, our website, you know, all the information and flyers, you can go to our website and all this stuff will be on there.
All right, let's thank Dr. Nero for her participation. Thank you. Now, you know, on the schedule it says we're supposed to have questions and answers, so I don't know what you guys have been doing. But before we do that, I've got, remember when you came in and you filled out a card? I got 2 gifts I want to give, and then we'll see if you have any more additional questions, okay? Who is Ahmad Hassan?
That's me.
Ahmad, you have a t-shirt. Hey, come get the t-shirt. Jacqueline Winston, you have a t-shirt. You're welcome. All right, now, we also have a gift card raffle, but we'll do you have an additional questions and answers? We're not going to cut you off like that. Yes,
sir. Is there a sickle cell newsletter?
Is there a sickle cell newsletter?
Yes. Actually, out of Emory Grady, there's an online newsletter that comes out monthly, And it's for, I mean, it's for everyone. And you can get on their link, the sciinfo.org. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can go on our website. We have links.
Oh,
The site, our site.